afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast Lehr with me, host, Imperial Dane. And we are having a look here at the fallschirmjaeger this time around. Yes, indeed, it's the Elite Oberkommando West fallschirmjaeger. Available at 440 manpower. That pretty much puts him in the most expensive end of all infantry in the game at the moment. A 4-man elite squad, all equipped with FG-42s, the Fallschirmjägergewehr. And they have access to bundle grenades, Panzerfaust, and the Blenker Verfangeable smoke grenade, which pretty much means they're quite a flexible infantry unit as well, rather living up to the elite department, able to lay down a lot of firepower, unleash a lot of firepower, disable vehicles, and of course also club positions, and for example cover and assault, or retreat with smoke grenades. So in that regard, they already possess a lot of abilities. They also do quite a bit of damage, which only gets better as they gain veterancy, since they pretty much, almost, I think well, a lot of the levels basically get a lot more accuracy, which overall makes them a lot more further lethal. So overall, a Fallschirmjäger unit, as it slowly sort of gains veterancy, becomes more and more lethal. And overall, a lot of a dangerous thing to sort of contend with for an opponent. Also important to note, they're one of the few units which can infiltrate through buildings, so you can, for example, use it to pop up sort of behind enemy lines and cause a bit of havoc that way. Say, for example, appear behind an enemy. So keeping that in mind, I mean, it is a very sort of, flexible unit that basically capable of doing a lot of things. Oh, well, anyways, an elite unit, though of course with weaknesses. Specifically, those weaknesses tend to come down to they are casualties. No matter how much veterans they have, they will still be quite exposed. Snipers, of course, will also pose quite a problem for them, since they also mean a quick drop in combat effectiveness. That's only one of the issues with them. They will quickly suffer large drops in combat effectiveness. Of course, they also, to an extent, depending on munitions, sort of get a lot of work done. And of course, you can also be tempted to just spam them, which of course means you'll suddenly suffer a huge manpower drain, since they are high on population, but also just expensive to sort of get in the first place, but also expensive to reinforce. So they're a bit more of a tricky unit in that department, and you have to be a bit careful in then how you proceed to use them, since you can easily end up hurting yourself economically if you're not careful. So that is something very important to keep in mind alongside all those other things. The generally sort of unit you want maybe one or two off. Any more than that, and you can risk putting yourself in a very bad position. But again, solid, and of course something that any opponent should be careful with. But on the hand, again, if you can sort of attack them from the right angles, you can generally sort of inflict a lot of damage on them. So it's also something rather vital to keep in mind of. And if you can do that, you'll generally find yourself getting quite a bit of sort of nice work out with your Fallschirmjäger. Keep in mind also with the smoke grenades, they can hurt them if they walk from. On the other hand, you can place them cleverly to say, in an opponent's retreat path, you can hit there, and then of course, as the units pass through, get more damage, you can move up behind as they also get slowed down, and then actually that way sort of quickly pick them off, so you can also be used sort of a bit more aggressively if you will. It's a Veterans Who Want ability, by the way. So I mean, if you keep that in mind, you'll generally find your Fallschirmjägers doing pretty well. And of course, the opponent again, focus them down. Try not to engage them out in the open, at least when your troops are out in the open, to remember to sort of keep things out of the way. And you'll generally find yourself sort of doing all. And of course, keep tanks at a reasonable distance unless you fancy a Panzerfaust through the engine block. So I mean, there are some things to keep in mind. Of course, I mean, if you see one Fallschirmjäger unit out on the field, expect them to try and ambush your support units on the units out on the field. So you have to be a bit careful that once that happens, then you have to again take a few countermeasures to sort of try and deal with it. Otherwise, you might suddenly find yourself, with a Fallschirmjäger making a very fun time for himself, well, for that player behind your lines, which is generally not what you want to happen. But generally, they can be used to clear up positions thanks to their bundle grenades, of course. Hell, they can even use the smoke grenades if they wanted to clear them out. So that's also a little thing there to keep in mind. But overall, again, elite infantry unit, but again, the weakness is basically the 4-man squad and the high manpower cost. If you can sort of leverage that against the German player, you'll generally have him in a very bad state. Though, of course, keep in mind all the tricks they can pull off while using them and while playing against them. Otherwise, you might find yourself a bit pleasantly unsurprised. So, there you go. Hopefully that should rather cover sort of the major points on the Fallschirmjägers. Hopefully that should sort of keep players sort of with a bit of a clear idea of how to use them, how to fight against them, how to get the most of them, how to prevent, of course, your opponent from getting the most out of them. And if you do that, you'll generally, of course, find yourself having a more fun time while fighting with them or against them. And this is Imperial Dane saying thank you all for watching. Hopefully you've learned something. If you did want to subscribe, tell your friends, share it with everyone. If not, you know, well, that happens as well. But anyways, thank you all, and see you tomorrow.